Welcome to Adjectives with Madame Moi. In order to talk about adjectives, we actually have to talk about nouns because nouns in the sentence are going to hold all the power of the entire sentence. So in order to talk about adjectives, we're going to talk about nouns, verbs, articles, and where we're going to place those adjectives and how they're going to agree. This is a lot of information, so stick with us. Let's start off by warming up our brains. Could you label each of the parts of speech? The noun, the article, and the adjective? Let's give it a try. Now, in English, we have the stepsister evil kisses a frog ugly. It almost makes it sound like she kisses the frog and makes it ugly. But in French, the adjectives come after the nouns. So the noun is the stepsister. Her adjective to describe her is naughty or evil. The other noun is the frog, grenouille, and the adjective to describe it is ugly. So if I wanted to best translate it, I would say the evil stepsister kisses an ugly frog. But I wanted to give you this example so that you could see how it sounds so weird if we don't put them in the right location, these adjectives. Because again, nouns have all the power. We have to see that the nouns are going to change the verb as well as the adjective that agrees with it. Okay, so let's review what we know so far. Most of our sentences are going to have the same construction with a subject, a verb, and an object. If that is an adjective, the adjective will agree with the subject. So gentil has to be feminine for me. Intelligent here is masculine, so tu must be masculine. Adorable is invariable. We don't know if that's a boy or a female, so we see elle. Madame Moi est inquiète. I know this is a feminine form, and the madame gives it away. Étudiant here is masculine. With plural, we could have a whole group of women and one male, and we're going to have to revert to the masculine form. So let's take a look at what that would look like with just the adjective. Let's focus a little bit more on those, just the adjectives. Most of our adjectives are like this. They're going to end with a consonant. So when we make it feminine, easy peasy lemon squeezy, as we would say, we just add an E. To make it plural and masculine, add an S. Feminine plural, add an ES. If it already ends in an E, that E is already there. All we have to do is add an S for plural. If it ends in an E with an accent, we're going to treat it as if it was a consonant. It's not a normal E. Now, there are other irregular ones that end in like IF or ER. These are not as common. However, there are even more endings out there. If it ends in ET or an X, this one, as is, you see it's in yellow, it means it is pretty fairly common. So if you see EUX, to become feminine, it becomes EUSE. Masculine plural stays the same because X is a plural ending, but feminine plural will need SES. Perhaps we should talk about what these will sound like. So brillant versus brillante. Agréable sounds the same either way. Similarly, occupé is going to sound the same. But vif versus vive, or fier and fier. We have complet, complète, curieux, curieuse, bon, bonne, cruel, cruelle, pareil, pareille, beau, belle. And again, these are common agreements, masculine, feminine, masculine plural, feminine plural. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about placement because these are going to be placed differently, as we saw before, with the adjective following the noun, adjective following the noun. Our normal structure of our sentence is subject, verb, object. Well, this is true. The evil stepsister kisses the frog. But we're going to have to think about the subject and object being attached to those adjectives. But again, they're following. So it's a little bit of mental gymnastics. Let's do another example. La femme blanche est affamée, veut manger une pomme rouge. So the woman white and hungry wants to eat a red apple. Notice, blanche, affamée, rouge are all the adjectives and they're placed after the nouns. La sorcière flétrée donne à elle une pomme empoisonnée. Again, adjectives placed after the noun. Withered is after witch. Poisoned is after the pomme. Now, the last thing I would like to talk about is not just placement after. There are a few cases where the adjective will be placed in front, and here is why. We know that articles are placed in front of every normal noun. You've probably already heard me joke about le miau, because every normal noun needs an article. We already know what those articles look like. And you've probably already heard these used in practice. So you would say mon père instead of le mon père, the my father, you would say my father. Similarly, ma maison, mon ordinateur, and mes devoirs. Now, however, if you had several of these items, like if I had 2 computers, because that would be cool, I would say mes deux ordinateurs. Notice there's now 2. And I still put the possessive adjective in front of the number. Also remember, with possessive adjectives, the adjective must agree with the noun. Thus, even though this could be my house and I'm a female, it will always be female even if it is my husband saying it's my house, because it has to agree with house, which is always feminine. There are other adjectives that will do the same thing. They are replacing the article. And thus, these are adjectives that will go in front of the noun. Like quelques, so example, quelques amis. Tel, tel père, tel fils, meaning like father, like son. Tout le chocolat, all the chocolate. Autre question, other questions. Cet ordinateur, this computer. Chaque fois, each time. Les faux amis, la haute couture, false friends, high culture, or high fashion. Même ma montre ne fonctionne pas. Even my watch doesn't work. Notice here, même goes in front, but it's still going in front of the possessive. Now, the ones in blue, like aucun chance, not a single chance, these ones are very often, almost always, going to go in front. There's very few cases where they wouldn't. The ones in black, we'll talk about that. So again, blue will take place, the place of the article, whereas the black ones will not take place of the article, but they're still placed in front of the adjective. And here's why. There are a few adjectives, very few lists of adjectives. Less than 1% of adjectives go in front of the noun. So there was a fun teacher at one point who decided to take a look and make it an acronym called BANGS, which stands for beauty, age, numbers, goodness, and size, to help us remember the very few number of adjectives that are placed before. So in general, in French classes, this is the list that we remember. So jolie and beau and belle have to do with beauty, so they are placed before. Things that have to do with age, like jeune, nouveau, ancien, vieux, they can go before the noun. But I have to tell you, not every adjective that has to do with beauty or every adjective that has to do with age will go before the noun, just the ones on this list. And of course, beau and belle, which are not on here for some reason. Premier, dernier, ordinal numbers like deuxième, troisième, those will always go in front. Things like goodness, bon, gentil, mauvais, meilleur, these will always go in front. Gros, grand, petit, these often go in front of those nouns. And here's a little bit of a reason why. The meanings of some adjectives will change before and after the noun. So ancien, if I put it before the noun, it means former. If I put it after, it means old. So if I say mon ancien professeur, it means, oh yeah, my former professor. But if I say mon professeur ancien, oh my gosh, this guy is decrepit. Similarly, un étudiant curieux is an inquisitive student, whereas un curieux étudiant is a strange student. If I say, mon cher ami, my dear friend, Ah, mon ami cher. Oops. Now you're expensive. Ça va? Okay. So I have provided a list of high-frequency adjectives. And again, there are about 182 words on these lists. And some of them, yes, are in your book. Some of them may not be in your book. But these are the ones that are used the most. So I would say go through these. Take a look at the bank's list and try to help yourself recall those small amount, the less than 1% of adjectives that go in front of a noun. And of course, pick some ones that you really enjoy. So remember, there are some adjectives that will replace completely the article and some that just go before the noun, not replacing the article. And some good ways to recall this information are funny images. Knowing que mon acteur préféré, préféré being the adjective, is after the noun, that might help. And I, of course, try to memorize things that use the bangs, because that way I'll be like, okay, how was that said? Oh yeah, la meilleure façon. Optimism is the best way to see life. I'm fly. C'est mignon, non? Petit ami, c'est ton tour de faire à manger ce soir. Boyfriend, it's your turn to make dinner tonight. Le dîner est servi. Notice petit ami. Boyfriend. Pour la première fois et la dernière fois. For the first and the last time. Memorizing some expressions also helps you in conversation. You can easily come up with something because you're like, oh yeah, I've said that many of times in my head. Plusieurs personnes. Notice plusieurs being the adjective of several friends or several people. Entre et sortent de nos vies. Enter and leave our lives. Seuls les vrais amis, only the true friends, laissent une empreinte sur nos cœurs. Leave an impression on our hearts. Si tu te fais de nouveaux amis, n'oublie pas les anciens. If you make new friends, do not forget the old and notice how there's ... because ami would go directly next. This is a fun movie, Telle mère, tel fils, like mother, like daughter. À chaque fois que tu tombes, ramasse quelque chose. Each time, notice each time, adjective noun, que tu tombes, that you fall, ramasse quelque chose, something. Adjective noun. Quelquefois tu penses être né dans la mauvaise famille. Sometimes, notice sometimes being noun, adjective. You think that you were born in the wrong family. Adjective, noun. Ton histoire n'a aucun sens is probably what you're telling me. Your story doesn't make any sense. Yes, there's lots of adjectives out there. 1% of them, less than 1%, goes in front of the noun. So for the most part, remember they go after, except for our short list. Remember, nouns have all the power. They're going to change those adjectives to either masculine plural, or feminine plural. And they're also going to tell us where to place the adjectives in the sense of, is it coming after the verb because you're using être, or does it go after the noun? Overall, I hope this has been informative, and if you have any further questions, let me know.